Fox McCloud in the Mario movie is not good news. Trust me, you do not want a Nintendo cinematic universe. Let's talk about it. Come on! So right off the bat, I need to make one thing clear. I didn't like the first Mario movie. No, not that one. Okay, that one too, but also the one that everyone seems to love. I know I'm in the minority on that, and I'm not gonna get into details in this video, but let's just say I think the Mario movie fails both as an adaptation of Mario and as a film in general in almost every possible way, which is why the potential of a Nintendo cinematic universe under these circumstances is kind of terrifying. A large part of this is due to the fact that it's being tackled by Illumination. I don't think that their particular brand of filmmaking aligns with the sauce required to tackle a Nintendo shared universe. Star Fox, while definitely comedic at times, also has a certain cool factor. I just don't think Illumination really does cool very well. Their lane is cartoony, round, bubbly, silly. On paper, that kind of works for Mario tonally, even if the execution wasn't great, in my opinion, but I don't think that approach translates nearly as well to Star Fox. Star Fox, while still pretty lighthearted, is sharper, snappier in his dialogue, and it leaves room for more grounded moments. Fox's inclusion also feels like a bad omen because it opens the door for characters like Samus to show up. Clearly, they're playing on the Mario Galaxy angle, and Star Fox is a space character, so that means we might see other space-themed Nintendo characters like Kirby or, of course, Samus. And if Fox McCloud already feels like a stretch, Samus would be straight up blasphemous. Metroid is supposed to feel scary, isolating, lonely, dark, the antithesis of Illumination's style. It should feel like the movie Alien. Like, do we really want Melissa McCarthy as Samus and Kevin Hart as Ridley? Because that's the kind of direction we could be headed. And considering Metroid Prime 4 already caught flack for its AAA millennial dialogue and forced comedic relief, it wouldn't be shocking if Nintendo starts leaning further in that direction, which again goes against what the series is fundamentally supposed to be. Can you imagine Illumination trying to handle the clever, offbeat humor of Earthbound, or the high-speed bounty hunter vibe of F-Zero, or the quiet, serene coziness of Animal Crossing? That kind of range just isn't what they do. They're good at making bright, silly cartoons that keep kids entertained for 90 minutes, and that's about the extent of it. I get why Illumination is involved. Universal owning them makes sense with the theme park synergy, but DreamWorks is also under Universal, and it's hard not to feel like they'd be a much better fit for something like this. Their catalog is way more varied, and they've proven they can handle a wide breadth of tones and styles. Illumination, by comparison, often feels like it's operating on a single setting. Everything feels like it comes out of the same ultra-processed candy factory. Bright colors, pop songs, broad humor, and not a lot of nuance. And I don't know about you, but that's not what I want from a Smash Bros. / Nintendo cinematic universe. What makes Smash Bros. As a series so special is that balance between juxtaposition and conformity. Sakurai and his team nailed this approach. Every character feels true to their original series, but they still exist within a semi-uniformed aesthetic, with a few intentional outliers like Steve or Game & Watch. That's a huge reason why Smash is so revered. You get this incredibly delicate balance where characters retain their identity and tone, yet can be thrown into completely absurd situations like Bayonetta swinging a Donkey Kong hammer, Snake talking about Pikachu, Kirby wielding a gun, and somehow it all works. And it only works because there's such a deep level of care and attention to detail. The absurdity never fully overrides who these characters are. Their worlds are all preserved, even in the chaos of the crossover. It's a super hard line to walk. With that said, are we really trusting the same studio that used Take On Me by Aha for a Donkey Kong scene, even though they had an entire Donkey Kong medley already composed and ready in the chamber, to handle that level of nuance across all of Nintendo's IP? That kind of choice just doesn't inspire confidence in me that they're going to be thinking on that level. It feels more like surface level fun than a genuine understanding of what makes these franchises tick to begin with. And on top of everything else, the Mario Galaxy movie already sounds packed to the point of it being kind of concerning. You've got Yoshi being introduced, what seems like a Mario Sunshine inspired plot with Bowser Jr. Obviously it's focused on Galaxy and introduces Rosalina, and then it pulls randoms like Wart, which could mean they're dipping into Subcon maybe. Then we've got Pikmin, and now we've got got Star Fox on top of all of that, all of this in like 90 minutes with no real build up beforehand. It's looking really, really bloated. It really does feel like a throwback to that mid to late 2010s trend where every studio was scrambling to build their own cinematic universe overnight. Instead of laying the groundwork, they'd cram in cameos and crossovers just to be like, hey, look, we've got a shared universe too. And most of those attempts didn't land because they skipped the part where you actually make people care about these characters. Compare that to what Marvel Studios did with the Infinity Saga. They took their time. Individual characters were introduced, conflicts were built up gradually, and everything was allowed to breathe over multiple films that spanned years. There were bumps along the way, for sure, but overall, when you finally got to something like the Avengers or Infinity War, it felt earned. The crossovers mattered because the audience was already invested in the individual characters and plot points. Throwing in all of this stuff, all of these references and all of these characters into the second movie of this franchise is very akin to what DC tried to do with Batman vs Superman, throwing in Aquaman and Flash and Wonder Woman and just all of these other aspects of the greater world that was just way too rushed. It seems like Illumination is pretty much doing the same thing, where they're front-loading everything as fast as possible without giving any of it room to develop. And for something like Smash Bros, which depends on that sense of history, that sense of personality and the contrast between the worlds, with or without a story mode, mind you, that kind of rushed setup could really undermine what makes it special in the first place. I guess we'll see what happens. Ultimately, the one and probably only silver lining here is that this likely means we'll be getting more Star Fox, which is already being rumored. I'm a big fan of Star Fox, and I'm definitely happy Nintendo hasn't decided to completely abandon the IP. His appearance here could really lead to an explosion of interest in making more games, so that is a good thing. Keep in mind, Iron Man was a pretty low tier character in terms of popularity before the film. Same for Cap and Thor, and the Guardians of the Galaxy were barely known by literally anyone. They were super obscure, and now they're household names with their own theme park rides. So despite me not being happy with Fox being included in this movie by this studio in particular, the reality is the film is gonna make at least $1 million, so maybe my boy will start to finally get the love he deserves after this. As for the casting, I actually think it fits. I have a bigger issue with celebrities being cast in these kind of roles in general. Won't get into that here. I just don't think it's needed with an IP this massive, to be honest, but that's a larger discussion about the Mario movie or movies as a whole and not specific to Glenn Powell. He at least fits, unlike some other casting choices in these films. I just hope the writing is on point and it fits his character, because if the first movie is anything to go off of, they don't always nail the characterization. But what do y'all think? Are y'all hyped for Fox's inclusion, or do you agree that this might not be the move yet? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.